And then you pour that love into yourself. And the other thing I learned about inner child healing is that your inner child goes all the way up. And it may not even be inner child. It could be young adult you, right? Because I am now 49. So it could be 18. In fact, my 18-year-old self had a healing around my birthday in September. And it was amazing. And so we can heal where the wounds happened, right? And that healing lays a foundation for a lot of beautiful things to come into your experience when you take the time to do that deep work. It's hard, it's not easy. That's why they call it shadow work. You're crying, it's not pretty, it's not easy work, right? But
Yeah.
it's so worth it.
Yeah.
It's so worth it.
I hadn't quite thought of it in that way, Kaya. It doesn't have to end like at 5 or 8 or 10, whatever. Yeah. What about my 18-year-old? You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The
I love
girl
that.
who went to the priest and said, "Hey, I'm saying that I'm telling someone," right? Because oftentimes we don't tell anyone. We keep the secret. But you did something super brave, I meant to say, right? Like you went to a safe person and said,
Yeah.
"This is happening to me,"
Yeah.
right? It was your priest. And then
Hmm.
you, from being able to speak it out loud, right? So you said it to yourself first, "Hey, this is happening to me and I don't like it." And then you said, "I'm going to say it out loud to someone else," which is part
Yeah.
of the healing, right? This is all part of your healing that started even then.
That's
And
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you told the priest that this is happening to you.
Yeah.
And then you went home and you tried to advocate for yourself.
Yes. Yes.
So that version of you, that girl that went home and said, "You know what? I'm not cool with this. I'm uncomfortable with this and I want it to stop." Right?
Yeah.
That was brave. Right? And that little girl deserves the healing for
Yeah.
not being heard, for not being respected,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Mhm. That's
Thanks.
what I believe.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So, I mean, it's and your story is just so, for me, emotional because I'm empathic, so I take that on. Like, I can just imagine too vividly what you must have been going through, and so it's, like, painful for me almost, like, I feel it in my chest, and so I thought it was so important to share that because it's not talked about. This happens. It happens even today, and it's not talked about nearly enough.
Yeah.
And you've written a book now, an amazing book about how to come out of the shame that you feel. And you can feel ashamed for any number of things. It doesn't have to be this, it can be
Yep.
anything
Yep.
that you feel deep shame about. And you deserve to be free of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, oh, I just happened on something and I'm forgetting. Um, yes, though there's, oh, but shoot. But yeah, there are a lot of things that that can be that we think can be shameful. We find out, oh, that was it. That was it. That I went a lot of years, Kia, thinking that it's like, oh, okay, I've heard about somebody's uncle doing this. I've heard about somebody's stepfather doing this. I've never heard about somebody's father doing this. It wasn't until I again joined the writing group, Perry Powers group. It's like, no, this happens a lot. It happens a lot. I I was not alone. It's like, I am not alone. It's like nobody's actual father does this. Yes, they do, and it's sad. But all of a sudden, I didn't because I told my story. And other people were willing to tell their story. I found out I wasn't by myself in that. And that's important too, to know that you're not alone.
So true. I've seen that very thing, just knowing that you're not alone, help so many people on their healing journey, you cannot even believe it. Like, just to know that someone else has experienced what you've experienced and they can identify and understand your feelings, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I even had, it was just one person, but one person wrote on my Instagram, "Oh, this must have been her stepfather," and I didn't answer the person at this point, but I said, "No, it wasn't. No." So yeah, to
And
know
it
that we're
can
not alone is a big deal. It's a big deal.
and it's an interesting because it's like it's your birth father, and this was, there are people out here that are, you know, in the mindset of where they believe that they're not harming a child. They believe that they are loving a child, even though it's in an inappropriate form of love for that age group, and especially if it's their own child. We'll just say it that way.
Yes.
And it can also be women.
Yes. Oh, women are not immune to abusing people.
That's
You know.
correct.
Yeah. No. No.
I have a large male audience. It's about 50%, maybe 60. And I always want to make sure that they know that this is not a place where we're just trying to, like, point the finger at men and point out that no, and because you said people don't believe it could be your own father, I want to point out the fact that it can be your own mother
Yes.
also.
Yeah. Yep.
Your own birth
Absolutely.
mother
Yeah.
can sexually abuse you.
Yeah. Being in this being in this group again, yeah, I've heard all kinds of stories, and they include all of that. Men are writing their stories, which is beautiful, beautiful. It's like, because I think it's so. Speaking of that, I think it is so courageous for men, because it's even harder for them.
So much
I
harder.
think you think a masculine thing going on, and
Mhm.
it's like, well, you know, and especially if they happen to be abused by a woman.
Mhm.
I think sometimes people are not believed when they say that, which is terribly unfortunate, because women
Mhm.
can abuse people. They
That's
can
right.
abuse their spouse, they can abuse a boyfriend, they can.
It's true. So, and I think that just really needs to be said. And I think about men in the military where it's 1 in 100 are assaulted, and it doesn't seem like that's a big number but when you realize how many thousands of more men there are than women in the military, you realize 1 in 100 is actually a lot, and there are so many people, both men and women, who don't report. And that's statistically in the military. Now in the civilian population, that it's got to be way more. So, I mean, it's a serious problem that no one really talks about. It's sort of swept under the rug, and I think it's really important. And, actually, unfortunately, these episodes that I do on, like, domestic violence and abuse are my least watched episodes. I
Mm.
noticed that, but I'm gonna keep doing them. I'm gonna keep doing them.
Get those voices out there, Kia. That's wonderful. That is beautiful.
It needs to happen.